Hello everyone and welcome to this month's episode of Jig Retro, where I look into the brand new Xbox Series S, advice and things that I have learned along the way, such as optimizing your setup, storage options, why I decided to jump in, and why, as an avid video game collector and general hoarder of physical games, I don't mind the fact that it's the discless system. If you enjoy this content, then why not show your appreciation for the 3 YouTube staples: like, share and subscribe, and while you're here, why not check out some of my other content. So let's get right to it. At a quick glance of the specs, you can see that this console is weaker than both the Xbox Series X and the PS5. Yet if you don't own a brand new, roughly £4,000 television, then I doubt that you'll be taking advantage of even the Series S's capabilities. In basic terms, it runs at 1440p and 120 frames per second. My television in my living room can produce 4K, but it maxes out at 60 frames per second. Therefore, I decided that until I upgrade my telly, which I absolutely am not going to do for a long time, as I only bought that living room behemoth last year, this console will more than be enough. Also, this thing is absolutely more powerful than my OG PS4. Although honestly, I can't speak of how it performs against the PS4 Pro and the Xbox One X, as these are systems that I never jumped into. So why am I cool with this being a discless system as an avid physical video game collector? Over the course of the PS4's life cycle, I've accumulated quite a nice collection of games for it. But over that time, I have noticed a worrying trend. I place the physical game into my PlayStation 4, it takes a small bundle of data off of it, and then proceeds to download a humongous data bundle from the PlayStation servers. So you have to ask yourself, what is actually on these discs? And more I am thinking that actually it's not a lot at all. Therefore, say for example that the PlayStation servers suddenly stop supporting a game in your library, you are essentially left with nothing but a coaster. Really, unless you buy some sort of complete edition of the game with all the DLC included, then essentially physical video game buying is a thing of the past anyway. So much so that recently, instead of deleting a piece of software off my PS4, I'll actually save it to an external hard drive with the latest version still intact. More on that later. The price of this system is staggeringly cheap, and Microsoft knew exactly what they were doing with the price point of this console. At the moment it retails for £250 here in the UK, and compared to the base prices of the Xbox Series X and the PS5, I think it's an absolutely unbelievable deal. I'm sure that Microsoft must be making a loss with the sale of this system, but the long-term plan would be to keep hold of people in their Game Pass subscriptions. Time will tell if this strategy works out for them, but this price point was certainly something I couldn't ignore. I even managed to find a slightly cheaper one at £200 on Facebook Marketplace. Currently, the Xbox Series X and the PS5 are very hard to come by, but this Xbox Series S are readily available, like I said before, even on the second-hand market. I'm pretty sure there was a crazy Black Friday deal where a UK phone network was giving away Xbox Series S's with phone contracts, which is why quite a lot of non-gamers are currently springing up on Facebook Marketplace selling these things. I can see the arguments for and against the category of aesthetics, but I have to say that I really like the design of this console. It is tiny and simple with just enough silliness with that huge circular vent for a fan. I have joked to my buddies that I've just bought a brand new top of the range camping stove. I think it fits in nicely between my other consoles in my living room. I honestly think that anyone complaining about the aesthetic of this console should just look at this console's big brothers, the Xbox Series X and the PS5, with a critical eye just for a moment. I almost forgot to mention that this system runs silently. Seriously, it almost threw me off. The noise of my external hard drive spinning is louder. It's insane. The controller is extremely comfortable, triggers are amazing as always, and honestly I've kind of missed them during my time with the PS4. The placement of the analog stick works great for modern games, although the D-pad for retro games is not so great, a lot more clicky than I'm used to. There are no real changes from the Xbox One controller except for a new grippy surface on the back, which I see as a bit unnecessary, but also inoffensive. Now let's talk about the elephant in the room with this console, which is the lack of onboard storage. It comes with 512 gigabit with only 364 gigabit of actual usable storage. On the surface that may seem like a real deal breaker, and many YouTubers are surmising that once you've paid the nearly £200 for the 1TB game card from Seagate, then you might as well have just picked up the Xbox Series X. But hold your horses, because that's not the only options of storage with this device. Obviously the best, therefore the most expensive option is the Seagate game card, which discreetly slots into the back of the console like an old school memory card and gives you an extra terabyte of storage. It is packed with the technology to allow you to play Xbox Series X, S optimized games straight from it. The mid-range option would be buying an SSD external hard drive, or solid state drive as it is known. You tend to get more memory for your money, but please be aware that you cannot run Series X and S optimized games straight from this device. Therefore a little bit of file management would be required if you go down this route, although the speed that these SSDs transfer files is bloody fast. Finally, the budget option. And of course, because I am tighter than two coats of paint, this is what I went with. At least until the prices of the other options comes way down. This essentially puts you in the same place as a solid state drive, although because it is a disk-based external hard drive, it is slower. With that said, even moving these games around with this budget range option is still a hell of a lot quicker than re-downloading. It is also worth noting that absolutely any games not optimized for the Series X or S will run absolutely fine and maybe even slightly faster than last gen speeds straight off this hard drive. Essentially meaning that anything from the Xbox One and before won't need transferring at all. I've even noticed that a couple of the optimized ones will even run off this thing as well, such as Halo Master Chief Collection. My personal choice of hard drive was the Seagate 2TB game drive, which I picked up for about £60. Be aware that no matter what external hard drive you buy, you will need to ensure that it is at least USB 3.0 compatible. I think if you were going into this system without wanting to embrace the Game Pass ecosystem, then it's probably not the console for you. Game Pass is essentially Microsoft's version of Netflix but for gaming, and frankly it has been a reason to own an Xbox for quite some time now. You get an ever-changing vast variety of games, and moving forward you will get Microsoft Studios games day one of release. For a casual gamer, it is more than you will ever need in this generation. The price is possibly a tad more than the average gamer might normally spend in a year at £8 a month, or £11 a month for the Ultimate, which includes Xbox Gold, allowing for online play. Overall, it is just over the price of buying 2 brand new titles a year, but you'll get so much more than that for the price. If you're willing to commit to a longer amount of time, or fancy taking your chances on a website that will just send you a code, do this at your own risk, then potentially you can pick it up for even cheaper. I currently feel that it is a great value for money, but who knows what the future holds. Maybe there'll be a price increase, maybe we don't see too many changes to the catalogue. All I'm saying is, no one really knows. Also, there may be a large lack of long-term savings once you are committed to the disc-free console, as you essentially close yourself off from second-hand games, having to rely on sales in Microsoft Store to pick up games at a reduced price. In that sense, you are firmly at the mercy of Microsoft. With that said, I would say that different sales come and go quite regularly on the store, and I think it'll only have a large impact towards the end of the generation's life cycle anyway, when the second-hand prices really drop off. One of the first things I recommend you do if you decide to pick up one of these systems is maximise it for your personal television. Luckily, the console is very good at assessing what your telly can achieve, and you can tweak the settings accordingly. The Series S maxes at 1440p, so there is no point in going past this setting. My telly will upscale it to 4K anyway, so why put the extra strain on the console? My telly can't achieve 120 frames per second, so I'll go for a rock solid 60 frames a second instead. My telly supports HDR, so hell yeah, I'll use it. You get the idea. I would also recommend using the system's calibration tools, as this can make a huge difference. As for the next gen gaming experience, the first thing you will notice is the speed of this thing. The pace between turning on and dropping into a game is unreal, and a real shock to the system in contrast to last generation. Quick Resume is a literal game changer and is one of the first things I show off when demoing the system to friends. The graphics are definitely a step up. You will instantly see it in textures and lighting, but frankly, as generally a retro gamer, graphics are by no means the be all and end all for me anyway. The games look very pretty, let's just say that, although admittedly I haven't compared them with the PS5, Series X, the PS4 or the One X.
In 400 meters, turn right. Turn right.
As a PlayStation 4 owner in the last generation, I'm really pleased to be playing some Xbox exclusives again for a change. Although admittedly, there aren't that many Xbox exclusives released right now for the system that I can get hold of. I feel that I kind of jumped in at a good time with the release of Halo Infinite and Forza 5. But they are by no means original experiences. I do think over time I will miss not having access to some of the PlayStation 5 exclusives they've got coming up, but at the price point of this console, I'll absolutely be keeping my eye on the PS5, and if there's an exclusive that I absolutely have to play, or there's a huge price drop, then I absolutely will jump in. So far, honestly, I don't see that happening anytime soon. Besides, I still have the PS4, and as I've said earlier, I absolutely won't be upgrading my television soon either. One last thing that I've noticed that I really appreciate is that developers seem to be working hard on their slightly older games, optimizing them for the Series X and S. So hopefully in this generation we won't see the endless churning out of remasters of games of the past and expecting you to pay full price for the privilege. I've played around with Doom Eternal and it looks mighty impressive running off this system. Let's have a quick look at the games that I'm currently playing, but please be aware that the game capture card can only do so much. Therefore these games will look so much better when playing on the actual system than shown here.
여돈난 언어미
In conclusion, I have absolutely no regrets in buying the Xbox Series S. It's a little wonder of a system and I've really enjoyed my experience with it thus far, to the point where it's become my most played system. I mean, it's my new toy, it's gonna get a lot of attention. Quick Resume is absolutely amazing and it's something that I really appreciated when I bought the Nintendo Switch, just being able to dip in and out of games at a moment's notice. On the downside, I am aware of the potential enforced commitment to Game Pass that I now see in front of me, which currently seems like a fantastic deal, but who knows what the future holds. And being unable to access the second-hand physical game market may prove costly, relying on Microsoft Store sales instead. I look forward to what the future holds for this mighty little system. Until next time, much love, please look after yourselves and each other and get your geek on with Jig Retro.